Hello and welcome to Gaslands TV. My name is Luca, and today we're going to be doing some terrain using these dishwasher pod plastic sealers. We're going to recycle those. I already primed them here in white. I've collected 3 of them, so they might take a while for you to gather. But I mean, if you go to someone's house or your parents or a neighbor or something, and if you see they're using dishwasher pods, and you could steal this piece of plastic from their recycling bin when you see them throwing it out at 2 in the morning. Just go into a recycling bin and steal these. I'm getting way ahead of myself, but if you do find a few of these plastic things, I'll show you how to turn them into really cool barriers. So once they're primed white here, I'm gonna use a pencil. I made a little triangle there in the middle, and I'm gonna do some lines, some diagonal lines, but you want to be precise here. It's gonna look better. So if you have a popsicle stick, you can use that, and just the same width of a popsicle stick should be enough. And just keep going line after line, making your diagonal lines so that everything is gonna look perfect and neat. And it's gonna look something like this once you're done. And you're probably saying, well, why don't we use tape? Just go around the whole thing with tape, and it's going to be so much easier to paint after, and then you just remove the tape. So you know what? I'm going to do that mistake so that you don't have to. So let's use the tape here. Try to go around this thing as evenly as possible. It's kind of hard. It's hard to turn tape and twist tape, but got something done there. Now with the good one, I'm going to use some red paint here, and I'm just going to paint the triangle, the little triangle I did here in red. And then I'm going to do some of the lines in red. So you're going to do like one white, one red, so that it gives that barrier look. And we're probably going to have to do 2 coats. I'm going to do the same thing here on the one that we taped, just so that we could see how that's going to turn out once it's dry and we remove the tape and everything. What's fun about tape is that you could paint all you want and not worry about passing the lines or whatever, because the tape's protecting it. Can't wait to see how that's going to come out. Next up, you want to stir this brown concoction here, and then make sure it's pudding, and then you want to put it in your mouth. And then when you're done eating that, come back to your inside of the barrier and do the same thing. For the inside, I got a bit lazy here, and I decided let's try to do it by eye with a thick brush to try to do the lines. I mean, that's not bad. It came out okay on the inside, but if you have time, use the popsicle sticks, make some nice even lines. And what you want to do is do a second coat with patience, because it's going to look much nicer. So I'll show you the difference here between something that has 2 coats and only 1. The top one has 2 coats of red, the bottom one only 1. So as you can tell, it's worth it. Take the time and put the second coat of red there. Try to make it look as good as possible. Now let's take out the tape on this one and see how that's gonna look. Let's see what we get out of this. So it should do a nice straight line, since it's tape, but tape is sticky, right? So it's gonna like stick to your primer. It's gonna pull out most of your primer, and it's gonna make extra garbage. So you have a nice little Christmas decoration here. Probably use as a centerpiece or something at Christmas. But let's get back to the good ones here. I'm going to use some black paint to do some scuff marks. Those marks you see in parking lots because people don't know how to drive. So we're going to do those on the barriers here. So you could put a Hot Wheel, make sure where the bumper is kind of going, and then just little black lines here. Make sure you don't have a lot of black paint on your brush. Like, really dry brushing here, some black. If you put too much black and you go straight on, it's kind of gonna make it too dark and unrealistic. I mean, it could be like a fresh scuff mark, but I think they're more realistic when they're kind of faded a little bit. They don't have to be lines, even you could go a bit higher if, in case there was a truck or a little circle there, maybe from a exhaust pipe. Maybe you could do some curves here, make it look like the top of the tire or the bottom of the tire, kind of scuffed onto this barrier here while it was turning. The inside, I don't do much, just not very detailed on the inside because I don't think you're going to see much of it, but it's still good to do just in case, depending on how people are looking at the table. And I'm going to use this metallic Sharpie to do a few dots, maybe make it look like bullet holes. I'm really bad at doing bullet holes, so I'm just going to do dots of silver with a little dot of black using a toothpick. Put little dot of black inside the silver circle, and that might give it a little bullet hole look, or something that was shot in there. And you can also use the toothpick to do some cracks, maybe coming out of the bullet hole, cracked a bit of the paint or the cement or something. That looks alright. Make they don't have to all be bullet holes, they could just be cracks and stuff that happened in the paint. Just play around, just put a dot of black, and then with the toothpick just move the little miniature puddle of black into lines, and it should look like a crack. I bought these Sharpies, these colored Sharpies. They were on liquidation, so I'm like, oh, maybe I could use these to do some graffiti, you know. So it's always going to be graffiti in Gaslands. So I'm going to just write Gaslands, maybe put a TV here, and just draw the background with some other color or something. Or do the opposite, just do a bunch of background color, like I'm going to do here with some blue. And kind of looks like spray paint. And with another one, just write a word on top of the background color or something. That looks like pretty bad, really bad graffiti. Maybe someone wrote something here, fed up with the shooting, want some peace. And if you want, you could even make some missile damage, maybe something big that happened and like broke a chunk out. So with some black, I'm gonna just do some crack here. It's good to use a brush that's not clean or not like super straight, so it uses the random hairs that are sticking out to do random stuff for you. And then with the toothpick here, you could just put a bit of black and then move the black puddle with the edge here, and that looks like it got pretty damaged. If you want, you could cut the top a little bit and really make it look damaged. So that's one done. This is another one here that I did only a lot of bullet holes on it. And for the other one, the Christmas one, I decided, you know what, let's go a little bit deeper and see what we can do here. So I spray painted it yellow. Yellow takes, I don't know, it feels like it takes longer to dry, so I'm just gonna take some ice cream while it's drying, and then do the same thing like I did with the white ones. Make a triangle, do some lines, but this time I'm gonna go black on yellow instead of red on white. And I'm gonna use this mesh here that you could find on fruits when you're buying like tangerines and stuff. They have this mesh here, right? So this is pretty good for terrain. I like to use it like on things that look like construction or whatever. So cut a few pieces of that. You could stick that on. We could even use some popsicle sticks here. I'm gonna just tear out the end because that's unrealistic, but once you tear out those ends, they kind of look like good piece of, you know, wooden planks, and maybe I'm just gonna stick some at the bottom here as a base for these things. I'm gonna use this white Gorilla Glue, and I'm gonna paint this mahogany wood, which is Model Air. I like the mahogany from Model Air because it's for airbrush. It's more liquidy, but you can still paint with it using a brush, and it's watery, so it's like a dark brown wash. And because it's watery, it makes it look like the wood has grain, like wood grains. And I think that's really cool as a look if you're going for wood. And this is just popsicle sticks with mahogany, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to use that as a base. I'm going to put a few dots of glue here. You don't have to put too much, and especially with this Gorilla Glue, it kind of expands as it dries, so that should hold pretty well. Now, it did dry white, and that's okay, no problem here. We're gonna hide that, so we're gonna use some moss here. This, you could buy this really cheap at like fake plant stores where they sell you like plants to pot, and you could put like moss inside the pot for your fake plant and stuff like that. Like up here in Canada, it's called Michael's. It has all these like arts and craft store. It's not a hobby store, it's just regular arts and crafts. So I don't know what it is in the States or anywhere around the world, but if you could find a place that sells fake plant stuff, like fake flowers and stuff, they probably also sell this kind of stuff for cheap. And so I'm going to use that. I forgot to do the scuff marks, so I did a few scuffs, and with the leftover black paint I just cleaned my brush on the edge here of the barrier and gave it a nice dirty look on the top. So you could do that if you want, just before gluing everything. The scuff marks always help. And if you have some extra tires, extra Hot Wheel tires or whatever, you don't know what to do with, those are always fun to add to a piece of terrain. If you're having a hard time cutting and you don't have cutters, or you don't want to use good cutters on a piece of metal like that, see if you have some pliers that have like a little circle here, and it looks like it was made for that. It has, you just put your wheel in there and you just snap and it's gonna cut. So if you have pliers that have that little hole there, it's really good to separate tires from Hot Wheels. And so I glued a few tires here, but there's some glue that expanded, so I'm going to use some sand yellow here to make like some kind of, make it look like sand maybe piled on there. You could use any other brown besides mahogany just to make it look like a different brown, and you could use that to just dirty up the tires or the wheels that are all around your terrain here that you made. And if you guys do make these, I'd love to see them on Facebook. I really love to see how you use these plastics recycled to make barriers. You could also use a silver Sharpie to just color in the mag, and it's quick, it's easy, and it really makes a huge difference just making the mags silver. They stand out, they make the tires look really nice, and it's super easy, just a silver Sharpie. So that's a pretty elaborate one compared to the white and red ones, but if you do a lot of these, you could make an entire track. It's just going to be hard to find a lot of these. You're going to have to like save them as you do dishes. But if you could find like handles, any type of handles for buckets or whatever, it could be used for barriers, and you could use the same method on those. So actually, this is my workstation. I work with my buddy there. That's James. He's got a Twitch channel called Viking Scythe, and he does Gundams on the channel, so people watch him build Gundams live. I got my other buddy here, Marco. He also does Gundams, and I did a few Gundams on my channel if you want to go check it out, but I'm mostly doing Gaslands stuff. If you guys are playing the game and you're looking for dice or gates, or anything to modify your cars with, like engines and skulls. I do have an Etsy page that you could go support the channel, support me, and support even the artists that 3D designed all of this stuff. You got like guns, a bunch of guns that come in this really cool Gaslands TV container. You could use the container to transport your cars. It's a really cool Etsy page with a lot of stuff, so go check it out, and go check out our Facebook page. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something, and I really hope you share your pictures on the Facebook group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.